Let's imagine we are entering into a challenge, and life is a challenge. We know that by now because it's not a cakewalk. And what happens to us when we enter into a challenge? We, the way I see it, are in dual form. One is the body, two is the spirit, the physiology and the psychology. Now, if you have a healthy body, that's a good start. And there is a good chance you have a healthy mind, because a healthy mind resides in a healthy body and vice versa. Now, how do we get to this? What helps us to be mentally positive and physically active defines our capability of facing life and taking challenges or accepting challenges and then coming over them. Life as we know it is neither tough nor easy. It's one big challenge depending on how much we understand of who we are and how much do we understand the reality. Basically, the experience of life people feel in the sense of sorrow or joy, happiness and pain is completely dependent on two factors. And those are awareness and self-control. Very critical. On the most macro level, if we understand what is awareness and we understand what is self-control and how do we get to awareness and how do we manage self-control, our life becomes that much easy or that much fun or that much satisfactory. So you are more successful in your endeavors, you are more positive in everything you approach, and you add a lot of value to your society, to yourself, and bring in happiness for all of us, for yourself and the people around you. Depending on what kind of endeavors you take on, the influence could be even more bigger. It could go beyond societies. Not just you or your friends or your family, it could go above that. So, what does it take for us to be in a state of competition? Now, when I say competition, it's a challenge. Life is always dynamic. None of us know what's happening tomorrow. We can understand, we can try and know what could happen, but for sure, we don't. And that's dynamics of reality. So if you are aware of yourself, of what you can do and what is it that you can achieve with what you have, and if you can understand what is happening around you, which is in the area of your influence, which affects you in your life. So if you can understand that day in and day out, understand what's happening around you, you can foresee what could be happening. You could foresee what are the challenges you would be facing in your life. So awareness becomes very critical, that you need to know what's happening around you. And when you know your capabilities true to yourself, not that what you think you know, because what you think you know is largely an exaggeration of what you understand. And what you understand, there is no guarantee you can follow through and make it happen in the practicality of life. So you have to do a little bit of introspection and know that this is what I can deliver. There is this thing, when you ask people, give them a hypothetical situation and ask them, what would you do? And they would come out with some novel solution or a novel act, which you would also appreciate. Yes, this is something which could be done, or maybe a little different, but most of them are positive. But when the same thing plays out in real time, when you're placed right in front of it, most of the people don't. Because at that point in time, two things come into factor. One is the fear. If you're not aware of what's happening around you, the fear jumps in. If you check my previous vlogs, you will get an idea about what fear is. Now, since you don't know what's happening around you, there is a very good chance that you will act on an adverse way. And that adverse way could harm you. It could help you, but the chances of it going the other way around is more. So, you're not in control and you don't know what's happening. These are the two things which always affect us. And These are the macro things. If you can decipher this, you will understand how to live a decent and a good life. I've tried to address this in my previous vlogs. I'll link them here. You could probably, in the description below, you could probably go and have a look at them to get an idea that what I'm talking about, where I explain in detail what exactly is awareness and what is self-control, and the lack of this, what are the negatives it brings about because of the lack of these two things. Now, keeping that aside, let's imagine we are entering into a challenge, and life is a challenge. We know that by now, because it's not a cakewalk. And what happens to us when we enter into a challenge? We, the way I see it, are in dual form. One is the body, two is the spirit, the physiology and the psychology. Now, if you have a healthy body, that's a good start. And there is a good chance you have a healthy mind, because a healthy mind resides in a healthy body, and vice versa. Now, how do we get to this? What helps us to be mentally positive and physically active defines our capability of facing life and taking challenges or accepting challenges and then coming over them and making sure that as we go forward in life, we meet our challenges in such a way that we beat them, we understand better things after that, and then we start shaping our lives for the better, for us and for everyone. So there are very few things which affect us. There are very few things which actually bother us. I want to make sure that we understand those 2-3 things which are very, very critical. Now, this vlog, it's going to be a little longer one, so I'm going to split it into 2 or 3 depending on how this pans out. So, the most important thing for us to understand is this, that when you're entering into any challenge, what do? We try and make sure that we're physically fit. Very critical. And you don't have to do many things to be physically fit. There are 1 or 2 things which you have to take them in your control. That's self-control. And the second thing is that we have to be mentally strong. And when you become mentally strong is not by having ideas or looking at things around you, but being aware of what is happening around you. See, there is a fantastic feeling which comes out of being aware. Awareness helps you understand what's happening around you, so there is a lack of surprise. There is nothing which is going to surprise you or alarm you, which could put you on a different path of reaction. So if you are in the state of awareness, most of the time, there is a very good chance you expect what is going to come. If not, whatever you're going to do when something comes in front of you is not a reaction to it, but you will understand it and you act on it. That's a completely different way of handling life, which is a very positive way of handling life. That's like taking things under your control. Even if there is a challenge which is thrown at you, you're taking things under control, you're understanding the challenge and then approaching the challenge. So, before we enter any kind of endeavor, we need to make sure that we are physically fit and mentally apt. So what does it take to be these two? So let's start from these two. It is a well-known accepted fact, or it's just common sense, that when you accept a challenge or when you get into a challenging space, you would work to be healthy or be strong or physically active. And then you also need a mind to back it up, where you have a psychological space which is completely alert and willing to learn. So if you look at life as a challenge, which it is, you have to approach life with a lot of care. You always have to approach life with alertness. You always have to approach life in the state of flexibility, because it's very dynamic. There is no hard and fast rule of living a life. The dynamics around you are the ones who are going to challenge you, and how malleable you are, how flexible you are, both way, body and in mind, in your thought process, in your learning stages, in physically, how healthy are you to handle whatever is thrown at you. So these things make you stronger. So it doesn't take a wise man to understand this. So when you are moving towards a challenge, what do? You make sure that you are healthy and sound. So, a healthy body and a healthy mind. It's an interplay of body and mind. It's a fantastic symphony of physiology and psychology. So we need to address these two. It's a no-brainer to address these two in a macro level, because end of the day, I'm speaking out to people like me who all have a common life. We have our own means of attaining what we have to attain and have our challenges which are pretty much very similar. There are few macro things we need to act on first. And if you take those macro things, turn them into habits, they become the foundations, a very strong foundation, which is going to help us develop more habits and then bring in some solid principles which we can later develop or enhance on what we have to make our quality of life stronger, make our existence more meaningful, and our actions have better success rates, and we will be in a space of achieving what we think is right. So what does it take to have this? We need to make sure the body is strong. We need to make sure the mind is open-minded. It's a mind which is willing to discuss, not argue. It's a mind which is willing to debate, again not argue or fight. It's a body which is willing to take any challenge which comes its way. When you're physically strong and mentally apt, you are ready for life. Any challenge which is thrown at you, you would be in a place to handle it and own it. So I'm going to address two such situations which are required to be addressed for us to get to a life which is fulfilling in some nature. And those are, we have to be in control of what we do, and we have to be aware of what's happening around us, consciousness. So let's focus on that today. The first one is breathing. We all know we have to breathe to live. It's an involuntary action which happens to all of us. Without breathing, we die. We know that. But how we breathe is very critical. If we can master breathing in certain aspects, helps us get through some really tough situations without messing up our state of mind. Here, the state of mind is the most critical thing. What happens to us? What happens to us in life? The most experiences which we feel, the ones we enjoy or the ones we hate, like sorrow and happiness, comes between two expressions. One, feeling. Two, emotions. This is how we feed information. This is how we experience life, through feelings and emotions. And these two, when they catch you off guard, create a sense of anxiety or excitement. And what affects you psychologically or physiologically first? Let's look at it on the physiological side. What affects you on the physiological side or the physical side is your breathing. If the experience is coming from a space of danger or coming in such a way that it is against you, or you're afraid of the situation, let me put it that way, or you don't know the situation, what happens is our heightened awareness, our heightened sense of mortal danger or fear gets us into flight or fight mode. You've heard this a lot. So what happens is we start palpitating, we start breathing heavy, and we clearly can see that many people you have seen start to sweat when things get tougher. And tougher simply means that they're not able to control or not able to manage, and they worry for the consequences. That's the next part. The first before that is that you're physiologically, you're heightened. And this, the way you breathe feeds into this feeling. In my vlogs on fear and anger, I have tried to explain how to keep this at bay in the first place. But it will sneak in. And when it does, the best thing, the best mechanism, or the best weapon we have on our hands is to breathe. The one good way of controlling a heightened state of emotion, negative or positive, is breathing. Because when we start reacting, when we start breathing and control, breathing is a fantastic way of controlling emotions. Anyone, good or bad. So once we control the emotions, we can see through the situation, we understand what is happening around us, and then we can either react on it or act on it. So when you act on it, being aware, or react on it, also being aware, whatever you're doing would be with your interest as the first thing. So anything you do at that point in time, you're placing your interest on the situation, and then you're acting on reacting. So that way you are mitigating, or at least you're aware that whatever you're doing has less negative consequences towards you. When you're in a clear mind, there's a very good chance you understand what is happening around you, and you might even use it for your advantage. So breathing becomes a critical aspect of keeping anxiety, fear, and even anger away. And these are the things which mess up your life in the first place. So, breathing, master breathing. There are many ways of mastering breathing. At least get to a space where you can breathe, you can understand how to breathe, you know how to control your emotions through breathing. This is very, very, very critical. I can't insist enough how important breathing is in managing your life. It's a very Indian thing, but it's a very important thing. If you can take control of your breathing, if you can take control of your consciousness, your self-control, there's a very good chance you can mitigate many things which are going wrong purely because you acted or reacted in the heat of the moment. The only way you beat the heat of the moment is to breathe. Take few deep breaths, make sure that you are calm and composed before you act. So breathing is a very critical aspect. This is the first thing which is within you, which is in your hands, and you can control it. So I urge you to work on it. This is the first line of defense. If anything goes wrong, everything, you could learn anything in life. New techniques, processes. But if you know how to manage your breathing, you will approach life more consciously. You will approach life which is beneficial to you. Your steps would be in the favor of which is going to be good for you, rather than just reacting to the situation. So breathing becomes very important. So you could find out there are many ways of breathing. There are techniques of breathing in different ways to whatever. But try and get to breathing. Try to get to a space where you don't get excited in a second, or you won't get anxious in a second. If you can manage that, if you can hold on to any feeling which hits you for 2 or 3 seconds, that's good enough. That time is good enough for you to retrospect and then take a call the way you feel deemed fit. But if you're a reactive person, more often than not, in fact, most of the time, you would land in trouble. So try to get your breath in your control. And your breath not just gives you life, if you do it right, it will give you a very good life. It will help you understand the challenges of life, and it will put you in a position where you can see it clearly and then act for your benefit. Breathing, very critical, number one. The next logical thing which adds value to breathing now is meditation. The whereabouts from there on. The way I understand meditation is to ponder on your own self. That's what it actually means, that you focus on yourself. Because all this time in our life, we are focusing on what we need, what we want. We never focus on us, the instrument which is experiencing life. And meditation is the only way or a fantastic way of experiencing it. So once you experience it inside out, there's a very good chance that anything you act and react is going to be a sensible one. It will be purposeful. It is not an involuntary reaction. Every act you do would be under your control, and every act will have its own purpose. So, what do I understand by meditation? To self-ponder. Try and spend 10 to 15 minutes every day to focus on yourself. However you feel it right. You want to practice. There are so many kinds of meditations, but the one I'm talking about is called mindful meditation. It's basically introspection of yourself as a third person. All of us have something innate which we think is us, and the way we act is different in the world. So we need to align ourselves to our core. One is, I keep speaking about this a lot in my previous vlogs, you could explore it, is do we know what we are good at actually than what we think we are good at? Or do we know what we can do and how much of it can we actually practice? So meditation helps you get to that space. So when you ponder on yourself, they're looking deep into yourself with the situations around you or whatever has happened to you the previous day or whatever is coming through, it helps you understand without any consequences. In action, that is. So when you sit for 15 minutes and meditate and take a deep dive within yourself, don't look at yourself in the realms of opportunities and regrets. So I had this opportunity, I lost it, how do I make this opportunity good? Or I have a regret that something like this happened. That's not the kind of introspection I'm talking, or a retrospection. What I'm trying to say is, judge yourself as a third person, as a one who acts, whatever acts you did, how much of it was beneficial for you or not, which you clearly know. Whenever we go out and do certain things and come back home, we know that certain things were out of our hand, certain things we shouldn't have control. We regret doing many things. And we also have not thought what is good for us or what is bad. Most of them are reactions. So meditation helps us focus on our capabilities, our understanding, and with these two, in your mental frame, in your psychology, becomes so strong that many things you can mitigate because you see it through. You understand what could come your way as the day goes by. It's very critical for us to introspect. And meditation is a fantastic way of doing it. And 15 minutes, and you are ready. So practice meditation daily. Whenever a situation becomes overwhelming, breathe, take control of your senses, keep your emotions in check. Because of your breathing could even become stronger because of your meditation. Because meditation helps you not just introspect, even prospect. So every day, all of us have our challenges when we wake up in the morning. We kind of have some idea about what the day is going to be like. So when you sit and ponder about yourself, but what is it that you're going to do and what went wrong in the state of meditation, this is not introspection or retrospection. This is in the state of meditation where you're true to yourself. You're not trying to act, you're not trying to put a scene, neither are you trying to impress anyone. Here, you're true to yourself, to your core. And that's what I mean by meditation. So when you sit and meditate, you would know what could be the challenges coming your way, and you also have a clear idea of what you did, which is right and wrong. So when you go by the day, when things catch you off guard, make sure your breathing is in check. Make sure that emotions are in check. Your breathing controls your emotions, and your emotions, when in check, keeps you in a sensible space. So in a sensible space wherein you can see what's happening around you and then act on it. Never react, always act. Whenever anything is thrown at you, never react. Own it and then act. And meditation is the key for it, because while meditating, you would have also understood what are the spin-offs you would expect when things go wrong to some extent. And with breathing in check and with reaction in check, everything you do would be purposeful. Anything you do has a definite cause and effect for it, which you understand. So work on your meditation. Spend at least 5 to 15 minutes, whatever is convenient with you, but do spend it on your own self. Ponder yourself, understand on your own self as a third person. And most important in this endeavor is not to see whatever has happened to you or what is going to happen to you as opportunity and regrets. It just has to be in the space of what is right and what is wrong. Master that, and then you will see your actions being so sensible, and every action bears the result you desire. The next thing, the third in line, is very critical, is sleeping. There is no act here, just rest. A wholesome rest.